This is my recreation of Skinamarink. Yeah, it's a pretty experimental one. From a guy who lives out in Edmonton. His name is Kyle Edward Ball. It's about these two kids who wake up in the middle of the night. Their dad's gone. The doors and windows disappear right in front of their eyes. They can't call someone with their phone. And of course, there's a voice coming from upstairs that's calling them and asking them to do these terrible things. Well, there's a few reasons for that. The big one is trying to recreate that look of 90s analog horror where there's a lot of grain on the picture to make it look like it was filmed on videotape. The fact that everything's underexposed and overexposed and the dialogue is so muted, you need subtitles to understand what the fuck these kids are saying. It actually makes it all the more terrifying. Well, imagine you're a four-year-old or a 7-year-old. You wake up, all the lights are out, your parents are gone, and there's some voice that you don't recognize. The fact that everything is underexposed or overexposed, you can't tell if there actually is something in the shadows, but all the grain makes it look like there are these eyes spying on the kids. And the lack of a soundtrack, the fact that almost all the sound effects are so vague that you can't really figure out what they are. The kids suddenly whispering or shouting or screaming out of nowhere is one of those jump scares that feels genuine and actually takes you by surprise. And the fact that everything is at a low angle is to represent the mindset of a kid that age where everything seems so massive, vast, and empty and lonely within their midst. That's how I felt before watching this movie. The director made this test short called Heck that's available on YouTube, and I highly recommend it to anyone who wants to check this movie out. And maybe it was a little more consistently scary. I watched that short with the lights out, just my earphones in, nobody else was in the house. And after that short, nobody else was in the house for another couple hours, and talk about isolation, I felt like I was losing my shit the entire time. Hell, I was losing my shit as I was filming this footage. It was so eerily similar that words couldn't describe the amount of fear that I had before, during, and to this day still after. I mean, hearing the most vague sound in the vent or hearing someone talk outside my house at night, it just fucking creepy, even though I know for a fact I'm imagining all this shit. It's a funny thing how, even though you know you're imagining, it's still scary because the what if scenario is still there. And I think that's the reason a lot of people are frightened by this movie. But yeah, at nighttime, especially in my house, I freak the fuck out. In fact, I walk home from work in the dark, and walking outside in the dark, I don't really give a shit because if something does happen, I have my cell phone and there's a vast open space where there are houses and buildings that you can run to for help. In the case of being all alone in your house at night and something happens, you're basically fucked. There's some debate about that. You look up an ending explained video on YouTube, you're not really going to get any solid answers. Every video says it could be this, it could be that, it could be about child abuse, neglect, it could just be a nightmare in these kids' heads. And for all you know, it could be either one of those. The interesting thing about this movie is you never actually see someone's face, even the kids. And even if you technically get a glimpse of it, well, let's just say you'll regret it. I mean, a parent disappearing and the house being doorless, windowless, essentially boarded up with no kids escaping, the child abuse metaphors are definitely there. No. No, not really. This is one of those movies where if I give the slightest plot detail, half the movie's going to be spoiled right in front of you. I know because I knew a few plot details going into it, and while it was still scary nonetheless, and the movie really surprises you in presenting how that case may be, the less you know about it, the more impactful it's going to be. I'll have to wait till it pops up at home. But watching Heck at home, it was a lot. In the theater, the only real issue was people on their phones the entire time. Okay, it was only one person, but I don't want to see Putin or Trump's face. Why the fuck were you even watching that, man? The special effects could be a little hit and miss. There are some moments where entire doors and windows disappear within one shot, and it looks impressive. But there are other moments where a toy is levitating or something like that, but it's happening just on the corner of the frame where you can totally tell that someone's hand is just pulling it off as opposed to shooting it in a wide shot where you can get a string attached to it. That's about it. Like I said, watch Heck on YouTube first. And if you like the style, if it makes you think, if it keeps you up at night like I do, then you might like it. I can't guarantee.